Welcome to the Mullins podcast, where we take a deep dive into different educational topics to help you optimize your life. After taking a week or so off, we are back in the saddle. Now, here today with my good friend, colleague in the First Form app on Team Alpha, Mr. Montae.
How's it going, guy?
It's going. Been living this on the road from July 19th. I've been on the road, man.
So it's 2 months. It's like 2 months away from home, right?
2 months. Oh, yeah. So I won't return home until the end of August. So, um, just a pretty good little clip of time on the road. So we did miss the weather coming in Tallahassee. So I guess that's a positive thing. House is okay. No flood damage, no wind damage. So we missed out on that experience.
That's awesome. Because you were there last time. There was a hurricane, tropical storm that came through.
Evidently, there has not been a hurricane come through the Big Bend area in years. I can't remember what it was, right? We moved down there now in the past 2 years. There's been one hit the Big Bend area both years.
Oh my.
So I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's just how it works, but that's good. And I hope for everyone that listens that is in the areas, not only in Florida but also South Carolina, Georgia, where you guys are getting a lot of rain, everything is okay. First and foremost, life, second, property, that type of stuff. So thoughts out to those individuals. But topic today, Monte, we're going to talk about, we are specifically halfway into a challenge in the First Form app. And that's, we're going to talk about, the struggles that people have starting their wellness journey when they get a halfway, where I talk about like the newness wears off. Right. And this could be for everything though. This could be very starting, 4 weeks into a marathon training program, 4 weeks into trying to quit smoking. This could be like a month into anything that is new when you're on a health journey. Okay. But I do want to thank, we actually have a new sponsor to the podcast, partner coming in. It's out of Lexington, Kentucky, which is kind of cool because Reno and I are both in the Kentucky National Guard. You live in Louisville, Kentucky, right?
Yeah,
So this, as what we're trying to do is, have people that are local that we know that we do business with already, to come in and partner with the podcast and hopefully those that listen that are looking for these particular services support them. Like that's the entire goal. They support us, allow us to get some cool equipment, have future plans of having podcast studios, that type of stuff, and without having some sponsorship, it's not possible. But Homegrown Lifting Company, who have got their kettlebells and their plates. And the cool thing that they have, Monte, I think you would be interested in. They make at-home dumbbells that have the weight just like a barbell. So you can add different weight to it. So when you're doing your curls, at 300 pounds, 6'8", whatever your height is, you do more weight than I do. You can add a little bit more weight to that in like the small bumper plates for their dumbbells, which I thought was kind of neat.
that's interesting. That is pretty neat.
So you guys can check them out, Homegrown Lifting, out of Kentucky, and they do one of their claim to fame, and they do have the best pricing on bumper plates that are out there. Okay, and then don't forget our OG sponsors, uh, Summit Rejuvenation, and also GreenUp Wealth. And as I like to say it, First Swarm is our unofficial sponsor, which pays mine and Monte's quote bills every 2 weeks.
Yes.
So
Shout out to them.
shout out to them. Interested in coaching from me and Monte, you can download the First Form app, and make sure that you message us here. We can tell you how to hook up with us on the First Form app. So let's get started. 4 weeks in, what are some of the stuff that you're seeing? What are the struggles that people are having, in this wellness journey?
I mean, pretty much as you spoke on in the beginning, that I did a lot of touches on people where, and this is just where we just reach out to people, checking in, trying to see how things are going. And the biggest thing that I'm getting back right now is, hey, I'm just losing the motivation. And we talk about it a lot. And just so people know, biggest fall off rates with any kind of journey is typically 2 days, 2 weeks, and 2 months. And here we are at this 4 point, so 4 week point. So a lot of people, they're still around, they're doing a lot better than most people, right? Because they haven't fallen off, they haven't quit. But you start to notice that motivation dies down because it's no longer new, it's no longer exciting. And when we start something new, that motivation is high. We're going to make a change. We're super excited about it. But then it comes the dirty work, right? When all the motivation is gone, you've had to go through, maybe some weekends where you are quote unquote missing out with the friends, where you have given up some stuff that typically your old habits and like what you're used to. So now it's just like, huh, I'm losing the motivation. Everybody's doing this. I feel like I'm missing out. And I think it's the biggest thing is people feel like they're missing out on everything else that's going on.
We talk about the 2 days, and I would say that goes to what we talk about when people start something, you know, in initial changes, right? And the reality is, usually 30% of the people who start their health journey, they're just not ready to make the change, right? They sign up because they've been contemplating it, they're thinking about it, but they're not ready, right? So at that 2 day mark, that's what we see is roughly 30% of the people will quote unquote quit at that time. Not saying they won't ever start back up, but they quit at that time, right? Because they weren't ready to make a change. Then there's another group that you mentioned there within the 2 weeks that I think they are interested in changing, but they are not, like I like to call, they're not hurting enough that they want to make a change, right? And what I
Right.
mean meant by that is, you know, the hurt of either looking at a photo and being overweight, the hurt of, getting your blood work done and seeing that your triglycerides are high, the hurt of unfortunately losing a loved one to preventable diseases, through lifestyle change, right? Hasn't happened. So you mentioned it. Okay, weekend comes around, they miss out on friends, or they go out and they can't say no to, having drinks and eating appetizers, whatever the case is, and they quit. That's the other reality that comes into play, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
I
that moment that there's the first little bit of resistance or the roadblock, and it's just like right there is where they shut down.
Yep. And to them, it's just, well, it's not worth it. It's not, I can't do this, right? It's kind of that negative self talk that comes in there. And then I think the next point, which we're leading into, and we're seeing a lot of this right now, is the newness is just wearing off, right? So people want to make the change, right? They're motivated, they're having some results, but it's just getting to the point where it's like, this is boring, right? Or they haven't adopted, to me, in their mind, they haven't adopted the identity that they are a healthy, fit person. And they're not getting joy out of, drinking their water or, hitting their workouts or whatever the case is. Like that's not bringing joy to them because they haven't made that really identity change that's who they are, right? And going back to it, listen, we're not motivated every day, people. We're not, right? Like that's the reality of it. And that's why we focus on inside of our education, focus on behavior change and focus on habits rather than, oh, let's go be motivated, right? Because it's hard, guys, to get motivated, when you got kids, you're not sleeping as much as what you would like to sleep, right? You have the responsibility, of work, taking care of the kids, prepping the food, all this stuff. You're not going to be motivated every single day.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, and I know you probably feel the same way. It's like there's those people out there. It's like discipline over motivation, discipline over, which is true, right? And motivation, don't get me wrong, motivation is a great thing. Use it when you have it, right? But developing those habits when you have it is what's important. So when it does die down, we have those habits in place. We're going to continue to, those are going to be automatic. And I like to tell people a lot is like when you have those habits and they're in place, you're going to drive the motivation. You're going to drive the motivation when you fight through those hard times and keep going. The motivation is going to come back, and it comes and goes. There's ebbs and flows of it.
Yeah.
You just have to keep up with those habits when it's not there, because that's what's going to produce a result, and it's always going to bring the little upside of motivation back, and you create that yourself.
Yeah, you hear inside the military, a lot of times we hear, when it gets into stressful situations, you're going to rise, people are like, oh, you'll rise to the occasion. And the military is like, no, you fall to your level of training. And when we speak of this inside of a wellness journey, inside of fat loss journey, what happens is when things get stressful, you mentioned it earlier, when an obstacle comes up, you fall to your level of habits, right? And if you haven't changed those habits, you haven't set those habits in place, what's going to happen? You're going to fall back to those old habits, right? If that's stress eating, if that's skipping the workouts, if that's, just binge watching TV because, you can't handle, the situation, whatever the case is, you're going to fall back to those old habits, versus, being motivated.
Yep. The mind's always going to gravitate to what it knows, and it's going to take them like go towards the path of the easiest thing.
It's human beings, right?
Yeah.
Under the stress, we're going to choose the easiest option that is in front of us.
And building those habits, making those habits, it makes it easier to do. So your mind's going to know that that's going to be the easiest thing because that's what you are used to. And if we can build those good habits, we're going to have success long term.
Gotcha. Now, a couple of things specific I'm seeing, this is more like fat loss journey, is people, at this point, 4 weeks in, a lot of them unfortunately give up because they're not seeing the results that they expected. And I really put expected in there, right? Because I get frustrated with this one, a lot because, people will be down, over the course of the month, 4 to 6 pounds, right? And maybe they lost a lot of that in the beginning weeks because you lose a little bit of water weight, on the scale, and they kind of then expect that they tweak, right? But if you step back and look at it, if you're losing really a quarter a pound of body fat, to a pound of body fat a week, that is good, right? So that means 2 pounds a week is exceptional. Now, I want people to understand that, right? Because I'll have, females that are 150 pounds, 160 pounds, maybe they need to get down to 130 and they've lost, 2 pounds in a month and they're just devastated. And I'm like, 2 pounds is a good percentage of fat loss for you, right? What are we going to do? We're going to give up, right? And go back to the old habits. Where does that get us? The things that you're doing on this wellness journey, right? Specifically, what we like to see, is moving the body every single day with low intensity movement, right? Walk for 60 minutes, resistance train 3 to 5 days a week. Okay. Hit your protein, hit your calories. Those things you're going to continue to do for lifetime. So why are we going to give up? Those are habits that just should be put into play. And if we're losing 2 pounds a month, that is good. I want people to understand that. But I see that a lot as an obstacle where people give up because they're not necessarily seeing the results that they think that they should be getting.
100%. And just to touch on that, just to make it clear for everybody that when you say fat loss, right, that's not just weight loss, it's fat loss. It's totally different things. So that 1 to 2 pound, like people see these big weight loss transformations, but when we're focused on the habits that we teach, the higher protein, the daily walking, we're going to be maintaining a lot of that muscle tissue or more than we would if we weren't focused
Yeah,
on those habits. So it's not weight loss and fat loss are two different things. And a pound of fat loss a week is absolutely amazing.
amazing. And my other thing that I run into is, we're 4 weeks in, we've educated a lot, and people just aren't hitting protein numbers, right? And that's one of the things I get really frustrated with because you're saying that you want to change, right? You say that you want to change, but you're not putting that effort into hitting protein. And I understand it is hard, right? Especially in the beginning when there's so much misunderstanding of what protein sources are. Oh, Jeremy, I thought peanuts were protein. I thought peanut butter was protein. No, 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 no. Meats, fish, eggs, some dairy, protein shakes. Those are your primary protein sources, right? And it's like people want the results, but then they're not willing to run the game plan. And I see that a lot, kind of at this point too, is the people that aren't getting the results now that we're 4 weeks in, is because they haven't really been able to, push everything in, for lack of better terms, push all the cards in or all your betting in and go all in, right? It's still like, well, I'm only going to dip a toe or two in. That way, if I don't or if I don't have success, it's not my fault. It's the program's fault, right? So I'm seeing a lot of that for some reason this summer, or maybe I'm just looking at it and being like, well, that's the issue. That's the thing I'm focused on, maybe from a personal standpoint, with frustration.
Understandable, understandable. And I mean, I stand on it. Like if we're 2, 3 weeks into your journey and we've done the education on protein sources, different ways to hit protein, and we're still not making it like hitting our protein at this point, then it's just not it's not a priority to us right now. Because you're right, it's hard. It's the hardest macronutrient to hit while staying within your calories. But when you take that in education and apply it, you can hit it within 2 to 3 weeks. And if you're not, like I said, it's just not the biggest priority to you right now.
The other thing I wanted to speak on, and this is unfortunate too, and we have the saying. It's one of my favorite, quotes or isms that's been around. Is like, hey, if you have one flat tire as you're driving down the road, you wouldn't get out and flatten the other three, right? You would fix the flat tire and move on. So we do see this a lot. We get people who are having success, right? They're running the game plan, they're doing everything they should be doing, and they mess up one time and they give up after that, right? So unfortunately, we see that a lot into a program is they do good 3, 4, 5 weeks and they have that one bad weekend where it just then spin balls and they go back to those old habits and those old choices because you messed up one time, right? And we have to remember this when we focus on long-term wellness. It is not about being perfect for the next 50, 60 years, right? It is about, okay, how do I get close to perfect most of the time on a consistent basis?
Yeah. I mean, think of putting money in a piggy bank. If I put $1 in every day for 6 days, and then on the seventh day I take $1 out, and then I do that again for 6 days, and then take $1 out, and we go through 365 days. When I open up that piggy bank, did I save money? 100%. I made progress. There's still results there. So that one time that I made that withdrawal, it didn't hurt me. It didn't, I mean, yeah, it took away from it, but it didn't just completely destroy all of my results of saving money. Just to put it into that. So like maybe it'll help somebody understand it a little bit better. It's like we win more than we lose, and we stack up those wins over time, and it's going to equal the results. We can't stop off of one bad meal, off of, hey, I ate a Reese cup today. Let me go ahead and just eat everything in it. I mean, because I've been there, I've done that, and and you know it. And when you taught me this, and I just applied it in this way, that's when things changed.
So what I want to do is kind of wrap this up and finish it with something that we did, with the team, right? Something we recommended to our team to change. And I'll just give some examples, and then the listener can go out and do it. Okay. But I think people need to win their mornings and their evenings inside of, we talked about this earlier, falling back to your habits, when things get crazy. Things are going to get hectic. But if you can develop 5 or 6 core habits that are going to push you towards your goal, when we're speaking of wellness, then it's going to set you up for success, right? And what I'd like people to do is think about where they struggle at, what is their morning routine, what is their evening routine, and really kind of work in some of these things. Okay. Now, I am not the person that comes on and says, okay, here's the 5 things you have to do to have success, because we're all different, right? But what you could do is understand the way habits work. Okay. When we do one thing, a lot of times it triggers another, right? So when I do A, automatically now I do Y, right? And then X comes after Y, right? So what we're doing is we're working in that, okay, when I do habit A, then I'm going to directly go do habit B next, followed down the list, okay? So, what I've been telling people, especially at night, to work in for better quality of sleep, because we know how important sleep is to overall health, okay, is roughly 2 hours, 90 minutes before the goal of getting into bed. And you put your phone down, right? So go ahead and put your phone down. Then what that should trigger, okay, my phone is down. When I put my phone down, I'm going to go set out my clothes for the next day. I'm going to put my clothes out. I'm going to put all my workout gear. I'm going to put everything, I need for work the next day, whatever I'm wearing there, automatically, right? So that's as soon as I do that. Once I finish up doing that, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to go ahead and go take my magnesium, and I'm going ahead and take my creatine, right? I take those two together. Now, you don't have to have creatine in your nighttime routine. It's just when I take it, right? The key there is getting the magnesium in, okay? So then I take my magnesium, okay? That triggers me, all right, magnesium's in, go brush teeth. That's the last thing you're consuming of the day as far as other than water. So go to brush your teeth, take a shower, all that, right? So as you take a shower, you're gonna go check the kids, make sure that they're good, make sure the doors are locked. Then you're gonna lay in bed, right? Then follow that by some deep breathing. So that is kind of like what I've been doing. I want to say on the road. It looks a little different on the road, but to a degree, that's what we've been doing. I've been doing in the nighttime routine, so that I know as soon as I do this, I do this next. As soon as I do that, I move on to this. Okay. So that's what I would encourage the listener to do, is to develop those 5 to 6 things that will set them up for success for the evening and the morning, right? And I know it's going to look different for everybody, so I'm not going to go into details of what it should be and pretend that there's this perfect routine, right? We always make the joke, guys. If you don't get up in the morning and meditate for 10 minutes, set in your sauna, and then go get in a cold plunge, you're losing, right? You suck,
What? That's what I do.
right? So my point being, it's your routine, guys and gals. It is your routine. But you need to list it out, because a lot of you guys are struggling and you don't have that routine. You have a routine, you just don't know it, right? You may pick up your phone and scroll for 10 minutes on social media and lose 10 or 15 minutes productivity during your day. Could be some bad habits. So what I would encourage people to do, take a step back, list out those 5 to 6 things, those habits you want to do right in a row to get yourself prepped for bed, nightly routine, and a morning routine.
Yeah, I love it. One thing I just want to point out, just one on that, is you said sit out your workout clothes. Something I've learned is the easier we can make a habit, the more likely we are to do it. And part of my morning routine is, getting up and going to working out. And I can like early, super early, like first thing in the morning. And there's been times that I've missed that, but I noticed when I set out those workout clothes, and that's the first thing I see in the morning. I don't have to go in the dresser, pull them out. We just now put my newest daughter in her actual crib from the bassinet, so she was in our room, and I was like, "Oh, I don't wanna get up, make a bunch of noise, and, wake her up." So, the habit was harder to do because I had all these reasons why I didn't wanna wake her up, but when I would sit those clothes out, have them ready, it was automatic. I was good to go. I walked out of the room, saw the workout clothes, we're off to the gym. So I'm making it
You
easy.
know, it's no different, like, guys in the mornings, flipping it out, I'm home. What a morning looks like is, alarm goes off, right? I don't always want to get up once again, right? So I take a shot of pre-workout, right? As soon as I take my shot of pre-workout, I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth, I put my contacts in, right? So that's just no, okay, as soon as I do this, I go do this. No, like thinking that, oh, I'm motivated today. It's just okay, these things have to get done, right? Then after that, it's go let the dog out, you know, come back in, put some clothes on, that I laid out the night before, right? And then go start taking the dog for a walk and answering messages. That is my morning routine. Once again, unless it's raining or there's something like that. But those are the habits I build in so that's automatic, right? It gets me up, it gets the things that need to be directly accomplished out of the way, walk the dog, and then come back in. Then after I come back in, that looks different depending on where the kids need to be and all that stuff, in the morning hours. So what I would like to see is if, you're really struggling right now, guys, gals, list this out, right? List out 5, 6 of these habits that are to come back to back in your morning and in your evening so that you don't have to rely once again on quote unquote motivation, right? You rely on habits, not necessarily discipline, because the people who have the most discipline, okay, have the best habits, right?
100%.
It's not about being disciplined, it's about being habits and taking the motion out of it and just kind of continuing on your journey. So, Montae, I appreciate you being on today as always. Once again, guys, we're speaking a little bit more from the standpoint of challenge related, but it doesn't have to be a challenge. It could be anything that you're doing in life, right? Starting a wellness journey, trying to quit smoking, trying to quit drinking, whatever the case may be, right? Building habits is the key to success, no matter what you're looking at. So, appreciate you guys. Hope you have
Hey,
a great
Jeremy,
day. Yes, sir.
a question real quick. Were you gonna do another podcast about it, or did you have a race recently?
Oh, great question.
Talk about.
I need to talk about that. Um, let's wrap this one up and
Okay.
then maybe I'll have you quote do interview on that race for me and we'll just do that as a separate podcast.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome, guys. Hope you have a great day and we'll talk to you soon.